The family dinner unfolded just as I anticipated. Dad grumbled about the stock market while Mom topped off everyone's wine, and my brother Kevin couldn't stop boasting about his latest promotion at Goldman Sachs. Just another typical Sunday at the Andersons. Another frustrating quarter. Dad exhaled, slicing into his roast beef. Lucky we stuck with traditional investments, right, Kevin? Kevin nodded with a self-satisfied grin. Blue chip stocks, municipal bonds, the safe way to grow your wealth. Then he shot me a pointed look. Not like some people's creative investments. I took a sip of water, my mind drifting to the email from my lawyers earlier that morning. Tomorrow would change everything, but for now, I let them chatter. I still can't believe you blew your inheritance, Rachel, Mom said, shaking her head. Grandpa worked so hard to leave each of you something meaningful. Yes, the inheritance, I thought. 5 years ago, Grandpa Joe had left each grandchild $100,000. Kevin had immediately put his into safe, conventional investments. My cousin Sarah bought a home. And I went all in on cryptocurrencies and emerging tech ventures. Dad frowned. Might as well have tossed it in the trash. What they didn't realize was that $100,000 had been seed money for Anderson Innovation Fund, my private investment firm focused on emerging technologies and digital assets. While they ridiculed my risky bets, I was building something extraordinary. How's Bitcoin treating you? Kevin sneered. Still worth anything? I glanced at my phone discreetly. The final documents for tomorrow's IPO had just cleared. Anderson Innovation Fund was about to go public, with a starting valuation of $2 billion. It's going well, I said softly. Actually, I wanted to tell you about Dash. Have I mentioned the new office? Kevin interrupted. Corner suite, executive floor. Dad, you should come see it. That's great, son, Dad said proudly. Now that's how you build real wealth. Careful, responsible choices. My phone buzzed again, a message from my CFO. CNBC wanted an interview right after the opening bell tomorrow. Rachel, Mom touched my arm. Have you considered letting Kevin handle your money? He could invest it properly. I almost laughed. Kevin managed a $50 million portfolio at Goldman. My fund had just closed a $400 million investment in a quantum computing startup. Thanks, but I'm happy with my strategy. Strategy? Kevin scoffed. Last I heard, you were in that tiny downtown office, playing with virtual coins. That tiny office was just a temporary space while our 50-story Manhattan headquarters, proudly displaying Anderson Innovation Fund, was being completed. I wanted to show you something, I began, but Dad interrupted. Your grandfather would be heartbroken, he said solemnly. He wanted that money to secure your future, not fuel some tech fantasy. I remembered Grandpa Joe, who'd built his fortune betting on early computing companies when everyone called him crazy. He had told me, the future favors those brave enough to see it coming. Actually, I said, opening my laptop, I want you to see this, Dash. Oh, not another cryptocurrency lecture, Mom groaned. Kevin, teach your sister how to invest properly. Kevin launched into his spiel about market fundamentals, but I wasn't listening. My screen displayed the pre-market data for tomorrow's IPO. Institutional investors were already lining up. Soon, everyone would see. The daughter they assumed had squandered her inheritance had quietly built one of the fastest-growing investment funds in the country. But for now, I let them lecture on real investing as I nibbled my roast beef, thinking about tomorrow's opening bell. Sometimes, the sweetest triumph doesn't need to be announced at the dinner table. The stock market was about to open, and sunlight poured through the windows of my temporary office. I watched the pre-market numbers climb while CNBC played quietly on the wall screen, the ticker inching toward the opening bell. In less than half an hour, Anderson Innovation Fund, AIF, would officially start trading. My phone buzzed, a text from Kevin, family breakfast at the club. Dad wants to lecture you about responsible investing again. Before I could reply, my assistant Sarah burst in. The Wall Street Journal piece just went live. I pulled up the headline: Tech investment prodigy takes fund public, Anderson Innovation Fund poised to be the year's largest IPO. Your family still has no clue? Sarah asked, laying out the ceremonial bell documents. They're about to find out, I said with a smile. The phone rang. Mom, Rachel, honey, please come to breakfast, she interrupted. Your father is worried about your financial future. I grinned, watching the crowd of reporters gathering outside our building. Actually, Mom, why don't you all tune in to CNBC instead? Wait, what? Just trust me. Once. I hung up as my CFO came in with the final numbers. Pre-market trading was off the charts. We might open above $200 per share. The elevator dinged, and my legal team arrived carrying the ceremonial bell. Everything was in place. My phone lit up with messages from the family group chat. Kevin, why is Rachel on CNBC? Mom, what's Anderson Innovation Fund? Dad, someone explain this. I typed back, watch and see. The CNBC anchor's voice filled the room as Sarah turned up the volume. In what's being called the investment story of the year, Anderson Innovation Fund goes public today. Founded by 28-year-old Rachel Anderson with an initial investment of just $100,000, AIF has become a leader in emerging technology ventures. My phone rang again. Kevin. I put it on speaker. Rachel, he stammered, please tell me this is a different Anderson fund. Remember that computer money you laughed at? I said. It just made me a billionaire. The anchor continued, with strategic investments in cryptocurrency, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence, AIF has generated returns exceeding 1,000% in just 3 years. Another call, Dad this time. Rachel Elizabeth Anderson, what is happening? The inheritance I thought you wasted? I turned it into a $2 billion fund, I said calmly. The opening bell ceremony is in 15 minutes. You might want to hurry. I could hear Mom sobbing as Dad muttered, $2 billion. Actually, my CFO leaned in, whispering, closer to $3 billion now. The elevator doors opened again, and there they were, Mom, Dad, and Kevin, dressed for breakfast but looking completely stunned. They took in the buzzing office, the wall of screens showing AIF's logo, the reporters setting up cameras. Welcome to Anderson Innovation Fund, I said softly. Want a quick tour before the bell? All this time, Kevin whispered, while we were mocking your investments. You were building an empire, Dad finished, pale-faced. Mom stepped forward, tears glistening. Rachel, why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened? I asked. Or just told me again I was wasting Grandpa's money? The CNBC anchor's voice cut in. We go live in 5 minutes with Rachel Anderson, the new face of modern investing. You should take your seats, Sarah suggested, motioning to the front row. The ceremony was about to begin. As my family reluctantly sat, still dazed, I straightened my jacket and scanned the markets one last time. Kevin leaned forward, voice shaking. Rachel, after all those lectures about investing. Save it, I said, picking up the ceremonial bell. Let's see who really understands the market. The cameras switched on, and the countdown began. After 5 years of relentless work, being underestimated and dismissed, I had finally arrived at this moment. The trading floor erupted as AIF shares shot past $250 within the first hour. My family sat motionless in the executive viewing room, eyes glued to the giant wall screens as the numbers climbed. $2.65 per share, Kevin muttered, furiously punching numbers into his phone. That means your company is worth more than the GDP of some small countries. I finished for him casually. Pass the coffee. Mom's hands trembled around her untouched cup as she watched the CNBC replay of my opening bell ceremony. On screen, I looked poised, polished, nothing like the foolish daughter they'd scolded at Sunday dinners. Your grandfather, Dad said suddenly, voice rough, he knew, didn't he? I smiled, remembering my final talk with Grandpa Joe. He had been my first advisor. That inheritance wasn't random, he had known exactly what I planned to do with it. But the crypto, the startups, Kevin's voice faltered. All thoroughly researched, carefully chosen, I said. While you were celebrating your modest 8% returns, I was seeing 1,000% growth in early-stage investments. The door burst open as Sarah rushed in. We've just hit $275. The market can't get enough of AIF shares. Mom found her voice, still shaky. All those times we worried, tried to guide you. I was building a revolution, I said softly. You were too busy clinging to the old rules to notice the new game. Breaking news flashed across the screens. Anderson Innovation Fund founder joins ranks of youngest self-made billionaires. Billionaire, Kevin whispered, stunned. My little sister, a billionaire. Dad rose abruptly and walked to the window overlooking the trading floor. I was wrong, he admitted, his back to us. We all were. Yes, I said simply. You were. But why keep it secret all these years? Mom asked. Because I had to do it my way, I replied. Without your doubts, Kevin's condescension, or anyone's so-called helpful advice. Sarah returned. Rachel, Bloomberg wants an interview, and the architects for the new headquarters are here with the final designs. I nodded. Show them to the conference room. I'll be there shortly. New headquarters? Kevin asked, incredulous. 50 stories, Central Park views, I said with a smile. That tiny downtown office? Just temporary. Dad turned from the window, tears glistening. Your grandfather would have been so proud. He was proud, I said gently. He believed in me when no one else did. Sometimes the biggest returns come from trusting someone everyone else doubts. The screens updated again. AIF had crossed $300 per share. The wasted inheritance had multiplied beyond anyone's imagination. So, Kevin said, attempting a grin, about all that financial advice I tried to give you. Actually, I said, picking up my tablet, I have meetings with investors, but if you're interested, AIF is always looking for talented analysts. Entry-level positions, of course. Kevin's face turned crimson as the meaning hit him. The brother who had lectured me about money might now have to apply for a junior role in my company. I should go, I said, gathering my things. Sarah will show you out. Mom, Dad, Sunday dinner this week will be at my place. The penthouse view is spectacular. As I walked toward the conference room, I heard Mom whisper, our daughter, a billionaire. No, Dad corrected softly. Our daughter, a visionary. I smiled, thinking of Grandpa Joe's final words, show them what you see, Rachel. Show them the future. Well, Grandpa, I thought, watching my family stare at the billions rolling across the screens, I finally did. Sometimes, the greatest investment isn't in stocks or bonds.